Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. Today, y'all, we're gonna take advantage, something that I normally do on the inside, but because it's a beautiful day, I decided to come sit outside and to do it. So today we're going to have a little garden chat, just chit chat about all things gardening. And I have a really important question that I want you to answer. And I think this is the perfect time of year to start thinking about it. But if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. My name is Barbara. I live in Tennessee, which is in Zone 7B. I would love to know what city or state or country you're coming in from. So please put that down below so I can say hello back. We've had a lot of new people join the channel, and I'm very, very grateful that you take time out of your day to spend time with me. So I'm going to sit down. We're going to get to the business, y'all, and we're going to chit chat. So one of the first things we're going to do today is I'm going to actually be up potting some seedlings. So you and I started some seedlings together, our second round of fall seeds. We started them together about a week and a half ago, and I'm getting ready to up pot them into bigger pots. You guys can see, let me show you what they look like. This is what you and I started together just a week and a half ago. They're looking good. I have, I would say, probably 90% germination, which is pretty good. And as I'm looking, I only see maybe 3 that are not germinated. So out of 72 sales, 69 out of 72, that's more than 90%. We're not doing too shabby. So that's awesome. So in this tray, again, this is, if you missed that video, it was the video where I talked about how I grow food all year long. And I talked about succession planting. And I told you my process of how I succession plant, why I succession plant, and then how do I determine what things I'm going to start. So in that video, we did some more fall seeds. And so we have alyssum, we have broccoli, we have bok choy, lettuce, arugula, cabbage, cilantro, 2 different kinds of kale, collards, cabbage, and spinach. So that's all the things. This is, like I said, my second succession. I will normally do 3 successions in the fall and winter of most of all of these things. So I'm doing that now. These will go into the ground probably the first or second week in November. So I'll let them be in the pots. We're going to go from a 6-cell tray like this to a 2.5-inch pot. I will let them be in those pots for 2 weeks. And by that time, I feel comfortable that they're ready to transplant. So the whole process from the time I start to seed until it's time for me to put them in the ground or transplant them, I usually give myself about 4 weeks. And that's usually when I will transplant at the 4-week mark. And then from there, it takes off and does really, really well. So I will do that and get them in the ground like the first or second week of November. And then I will do our third and final succession, typically either the mid to end part of December, or I will do it the first part of January. So that's kind of the cycle that I'm on and what I do. And that way I will have fall or cool season crops all the way to April. I talked a lot about in that video how literally I'm growing food or groceries, as I call it, 6 months out of the 6 months at a time. So whatever I do for the summer lasts us about 6 months. And then whatever I do for the fall and winter lasts us about 6 months. So we put our first fall crops in the ground around the first week of September. And y'all, I already have stuff to harvest. I have bok choy to harvest, I have lettuce to harvest, and I have kale to harvest. So already we're able to enjoy the benefits of cool season crops. And so this right here will just keep it going and keep it plentiful. So that's what we're going to do first. And then we're going to also talk about saving seeds while we have our little garden chat. And that's the part that I would normally do inside. I don't know that I've ever saved seeds or done that part outside, but it's such a beautiful day. And I thought, hey, let me come out here, hang out, get me some sun, some vitamin D, and chit chat with you guys. So that's what we're going to do. So let's get our trays or our pots ready, and we'll be on our way. So this is my 32 cell tray, and let me get my pots. These are my pots. These are 2.5-inch pots. And I'm just going to stack these up in here, and we're going to take them from here to here. Now, you may say, well, Barbara, why don't you take them from here straight to the garden? Well, for me, can you do that? Yes, you can. But for me, I like for my transplants or my seedlings to be a little bit bigger, especially in the fall and winter because they're still fragile, they're still growing, and they're still tiny. They can kind of get lost in the soil. So for me, I like them to be a little bit what I call more fully grown before I put them in the ground. Same concept when I'm doing my seedlings for the summer. By the time they go out in the summer, they're of a good size again. Otherwise, I could just direct sow, right? Absolutely. So I got to go get some more cups. I have some more in the house, I'm pretty sure. But let's get started with this right here and see how many we have to up pot. If you don't know, fall is my absolute favorite season. And that was even before I became a gardener. But as a gardener, fall is really one of my favorite seasons. So it was great to sit out here today just to get this done. Okay, y'all. So I ran out of pots up here. So I only had, what is that? 3 minus 32, 29. So I got these up potted. I'm missing 3 pots right here. Plus I still have more seeds. So it's going to take 2 trays. But remember, this was 72 sale. We're going to 32. So I'm going to definitely need 2 more trays. But I did get up potted what I could. The rest of my pots are down at the tunnel. And I don't feel like going down there to get them. So we'll finish this up on a different day. But let's go ahead and go to our other project. And so how I chose the ones that I wanted to up pot, I just chose the ones that are the biggest ones. So like, for example, this alyssum, it still has plenty of space to grow in this 6 cell tray. So I didn't worry about up potting that one, especially once I saw that I was short on pots down here. I did the ones that were the biggest so far. And when you up pot, literally, y'all, within a week, it's going to be so much bigger because they have the space that they need to grow. So right now we have broccoli, bok choy, and collards. And then one of the things is because, you know, the broccoli seeds and stuff like that is so small, I was able to get multiple broccoli. So I think I only planted 6 broccoli, but I was able to get 1, 2, 3, 4 times 16. I got 19 broccoli out of 6 sales because it was multiple and I was able to thin them out or separate them and make individual ones. So that is a plus because y'all know I love broccoli and I want to have enough to put in the freezer. Last year was the first time we had some to put in the freezer, but it was only like enough to last us maybe a couple of months in the freezer. It wasn't anything to last us the whole year, but hopefully we'll get more this year. But let's move on to our second project, which is saving seeds. So this right here is a basket that came from my garden, and these are rattlesnake beans. And so you guys were with me when we picked these. We got a whole basket full. We did this on I think it was our 3rd succession this summer, so we didn't put them out to July. And this is how much we got off of like 4 or 5 plants. So not too shabby. I don't know what that's going to translate into when it comes to actual beans, but I bought a pint-sized jar out here. And we're going to see if we can at least fill up a pint worth of beans. Now, the rattlesnake beans, they start off like this, green. It has like that purplish striping on it, hence rattlesnake. But then when you, so you can eat them as a green bean when they're like this, or you can let them dry and they become like a pinto bean. This is my first time ever doing it, and I did it for the sole purpose of the pinto beans. That was the sole purpose of me doing it because I wanted to try it as a pinto bean, not necessarily as a green bean. And so if we like the taste and it goes over well, then we'll plant more of these next year. But this year it was more of an experiment. And so I am going to just get these saved. And I have a funnel on top of my glass jar just so that I can kind of just pop them in there and it'll be easy to do. That's a nice way to get it done, and I don't have to worry about rinsing them and all of that until I'm ready to use them. So when you are doing saving seeds, again, for me, I don't save everything and every seed or every type of crop that I do. I do the ones that are easy, like beans, okra, cantaloupe, watermelon. I've done peppers before, and I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I've never saved tomato seeds just because it's a little bit more, it's not hard, it's just more intense because the seeds are so small. You have to let them really dry out. Well, everything you have to let dry out, but it's just a little bit more time consuming and I don't have a lot of time. But these are relatively easy when it comes to beans. And so dried beans, again, are very easy because it's going to look like the same bean that you did when you put it in the ground, right? You just let it dry on the vine. And once it dries, you have some time before you have to actually take them out of the pod. So you're not pressed for time, so to speak, versus with some of the other stuff, you are. So this season, I've already saved cantaloupe seeds. I have okra that I'm going to save, green beans, and then these rattlesnake beans. I think that's it. And then watermelon. I'll do some of those. So even though I don't save everything that I grow, I do try to save as much as I can. And I encourage you to do the same. Now, one of the reasons why I don't save everything that I grow is because a lot of seeds I grow are hybrid and not heirloom. And so when it comes to seed saving, you want to save heirloom seeds if you want to make sure that you get the exact same crop, the same quality, the same consistency. When it comes to hybrid seeds, if I were to save a hybrid bell pepper plant, will I get a bell pepper? Yes, I'm going to get a bell pepper. But it may not be the same taste, flavor. It may not be the same shape or as intense color as what I grew before. Because remember, a hybrid is like a child of two different parents. That's the best way I know how to explain it. But when you save heirloom seeds, what makes it heirloom is that it's consistent. It's been passed down from generation to generation. And if you save an heirloom like squash seed, then you're going to get that same squash next year in the same consistency, the same flavor, the same look, color, shape, everything. Oh, also like squash seeds, they're easy to save. A quick tip on saving seeds, you just want to take the seed out. And what I do is I put them on a plate. I write on the plate what it is so that I don't forget. And so I'm not trying to figure that out. And I put them somewhere to dry for 5 to 7 days and let them get completely dry. And then I store them in one of my seed envelopes, label it, and with the date. Now this I'm putting in a jar just because it's going to be beans. That's the reason why I'm doing that. But for like cantaloupe, and I guess you could do all seeds like that, but for like cantaloupe seeds, I just have them like in a container. Now, these beans right here are white because this is still green versus some of the brown beans. So I'm going to save them and put them in here, but probably when I go to cook them, I'm probably going to take those out, is what I probably do. So let's have a chat and let's talk about my question that I wanted to ask you guys. And so one of the things that I talk about on the channel is efficiency, organization, and intentionality. And so today I want to talk about intention. And my question for you is very simple question, but I want you to give it some thought. And if you feel comfortable sharing it down below, then I would love to see your comments. If you feel like you want to keep it private, that's perfectly okay. It's not about me knowing, it's about you knowing. And the question is, what do you want to be different in your garden next year? Very simple question, but I want you to think about it because that's part of setting intention. And I think it's important to set intention. And to me, to be intentional, you have to be proactive. And let me think about that. Let me qualify that as I'm saying it. Does intention always have to be proactive? I guess the answer to that is no. But in the vein of what I'm talking about, I want you to be proactive, meaning the next summer gardening season is not till next year. I want you to think about this year, what you want to be different next year. So we are setting intention proactively, because whatever your answer is, I really want you to give it some thought, right? And so how do you arrive at that answer? What do I want to be different? Well, here's how I arrive at the answer. I think about, how did my summer gardening season go? What were my failures? What were my lessons learned? What were my mistakes? What were my wins? What is it that I wish I had that I didn't have, right? And so a lot of times over the past 5 years, I've tried to tackle maybe one big thing each season, not a whole lot. So one season was we built the outside garden, right? That was the goal. So after the end of that summer season prior to that, my intention was I wanted to grow outside in the ground. That is what I wanted to be different. And so I knew that. And so I started to think about What is it going to take for that to happen, right? The space, clearing of the space. How big do I want it to be? You know, how am I going to keep weeds out? Like all the things. Another year, my intention was I want to stop manually watering as much as possible, and I want to get drip. That was another year's project. Now, could I have done them all in the same year? Well, I couldn't have, but maybe you can, right? But I try to allocate my time, my resources, and my energy by setting intention on what is important for me at that juncture in my gardening journey or whatever the case may be. One year it was, like last year, it was I want to build up more space for me to garden, but I'm going to do it, instead of me expanding the garden, I'm going to do it in a way where I'm just going to add me a row of raised beds. So that's what I've been doing, right? And that project is still underway. But I know that this fall and winter, I want to purchase 2 more metal raised beds. So today I actually went on the site to see, okay, how much is the cost of the raised bed that I want? And I was like, oh, that's more than what I thought it was. Okay, so in order for me to get 2, this is what it's going to require. Okay, can I do that? If not, let's at least focus on getting 1. But it's October, and I'm thinking about what I want to be different in my garden come next April and May, right? I know that I'm going to have fruit trees in an orchard, so that's something else that I'm thinking about. So my question to you is, what do you want to be different in your garden next year? Think about what went great, what didn't grow great. And again, my ideas may not be your ideas, but I have given you some ideas. Maybe you want drip. Maybe you want to switch over wood beds to metal raised beds. Maybe you want to add a raised bed. Maybe you want to transform and transition from in the ground to raised beds, right? Maybe you want to add fruit trees. Maybe you want to add chickens to your farm, goats, sheep. We all will have different answers, but I think it's beautiful to start thinking about now, what is it that I want my garden to be different next year? And that way you can write it down, you can keep it in your head, and you can start planning, like this is the thing. And you may have 5 or 6 things that you want to be different next year, or you want to add. I would encourage you, you can like write all those things down, but figure out what's the one thing that's going to be. So that way you don't unintentionally get yourself overwhelmed because you're trying to do 5 things and not 1 thing. If you can do 5 things, that's great. But I'm going to ask, at least commit to 1. And it doesn't have to be big, y'all. It doesn't have to be big. It's whatever meets where you are in your gardening journey and what you have the resources to do, whether that's resources in finance, resources in land, resources in support or availability. No answer is a wrong answer. It could be, you know what, I've never grown potatoes before, and so next year I want to dedicate a space to grow potatoes. So I'll ask the question again. What is it that you want to be different in your garden next year? What are you proud about? What are you proud about that happened in your gardening season? What is one thing that you know that you want? Now, for those of you that feel comfortable sharing, I would love to see your comments down in the comments below. Share with the class so that you may spark somebody else's ideas. Somebody may be able to give you a resource and say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Maybe you want to learn how to can. Maybe you want to learn how to do sourdough. Now, I've told you guys that I try to live my life with intention. And as much as possible, I try to think ahead, right? I try not to just think about the here and now, but I try to think about what's to come. And so in the fall and winter, because I know I have more time that I'm not in the garden because the garden is kind of on autopilot and it takes care of itself, I usually have a project or something that I want to learn in the fall and winter. Last year, it was candles. I'll pop that video up here where I learned how to do candles, and candles was not hard at all. It was actually quite easy. This year, I want to learn how to make soap. And your girl is going to do melt and pour. We're not going to fool with the lie just yet. We just want to do some easy melt and pour. So if you got tips on that or resources, put them down in the comments below. So that's my fall and winter project. But when I think about what I want to be different in my garden next year, I want to add more raised beds in that raised bed row that I've already started to put out. I want to get my orchard completely set up. So I have 13 fruit trees right now planted in the ground, but I have probably 10 more in my tunnel that's going to have to wait until the spring. Move back, Lexi. So for me, I want that to be different next year. Also next year, I want more flowers. Now this year I did do something in the garden that I have not done before, which was I had like a whole aisle or row of flowers, like a pollinator row. And so I loved having that, and I want to do that again next year. But you guys also know I'm trying citrus, and then I'm also overwintering some new flowers that I haven't done before, which are anemones and tulips. So that's my list. That is my list so far for next year. Also from a gardening business standpoint, I have plans next year that I will be sharing. I have 2 new things that I'm going to be, that popped somewhere. I have 2 new things from a garden business standpoint that I am going to prayerfully introduce. One this year and then one at the beginning of the year. That is the plan. So I just shared. I want to know what you're planning. What is that you want to be different in the garden? Another question. What resources do you need that you don't have? Put it down below. Now, let's see how we're doing on our little beans. Y'all, this is a slow process. This is all we got so far. We got this much in the basket left. So we still have a ways to go, and that's okay. So I'm going to zone out and do as much as I can, and we'll see how far we get. I have about 15 minutes left that I can dedicate to this, and we'll see where we are. I don't think I'll finish in 15 minutes, but I'll be further along than had I not started. So I'm going to zone out and do this while I'm zoned out. I want you to zone in, lock in, and I want you to think about what is it that you want to be different in your garden next year. Okay, y'all, I wasn't able to get it all done. I have this much left, and so the next time I have a block of time, I will keep working on this and finish it. But this is what I got out of half of that being gone. I have about this much. Sounds so good. So I think I'll be able to fill it up to the top for sure. And so that was like 4 or 5 plants on a whim, on an experiment. And I'll probably get 2 cups worth of dried pinto beans. Now I can save this as seed for next year and the years to come, or I can cook it, or I can do a combination of both. I'm definitely gonna cook it because I want to see what it tastes like and see if it just tastes like a traditional pinto bean, if it's more creamy. I just want to know. That way I know if I want to grow it next year, because I'm not interested in using it as a green bean because I already have a green bean that I like, which is jade. And those are phenomenal. We had some last week that we pulled out of the freezer. So good. So Jade, me and Jade, we good. So I have a green bean, plus I like Blue Lake as well. So I really want to see if I'll like it as a pinto bean, because then to me it's kind of like multi-purpose, and I can just grow it and let it dry for pinto beans. So I'm excited about that. We were able to get like 30% of our stuff up potted. We still have half a tray left of stuff to get up potted. That's fine. Y'all, I only had 45 minutes to spare, but I was able to get some stuff done, and that just moves the needle a little bit more. And then also we were able to hopefully answer a really important question. What is it that you want to be different in your garden next year? For those of you that are willing to share, I cannot wait to see your answers. I can't wait to see you in the next video. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe. Y'all see, I had to go ahead and get a jacket because it is like an hour before the sun sets. It's got a little chilly because fall is here. And we're glad about it. We're not complaining. So remember, y'all, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Remember, gardening is a journey, but let's do it together. I'll see you next time, friend.